Welcome to Discovering. We don't have elk here in the UP, but the northern Lower Peninsula has a huntable population. So UP hunters have to cross that bridge for a once-in-a-lifetime hunt.
This is a true once-in-a-lifetime tag, so it's over, but it was worth it, and it was everything I could have hoped for.
And we take a look back at a DNR Outdoor Skills Academy ice fishing clinic to brush up on our ice fishing skills. So sit back and relax. It's Monday night, and it's time for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone, forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak, surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields, call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill, the eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
For a hunter to draw an elk tag in Michigan is the equivalent of winning the lottery. Some hunters apply all their life and never draw a tag, and some it only takes one time. I caught up with a UP hunter who was lucky enough to draw a tag and successfully harvested a bull elk in December.
My name's Jake Delvaux. I'm from Escanaba. I'm a forester. I've got 3 kids and a wife, and we were born and raised in Escanaba. And so my 3 kids, from oldest to youngest, I have Vivian. She's 9, Larkin, he's 6, and Huxton is 3.
What do you guys think of Dad's elk?
Good. Good.
Is it big?
Mm-hmm. It's bigger than Daddy's head.
It is a big elk. Jake's elk is a 6x7 with an approximate live weight of 700 pounds.
The DNR figured he was about 6 years old, but they did take a tooth to, they sent it to Wyoming, I believe, to figure out exactly how old it was.
Jake said he couldn't believe his eyes when he saw his successful elk tag application.
So I've been applying about 19 years. Every year you apply kind of the same time as you apply for your bear license, and you get the results the same time as you get your bear license, so late June is when you find out if you drew.
260 elk licenses were available for the 2024 season. 80 any elk, so bull or cow, and 180 antlerless only tags. There are 2 hunt periods. The first hunt period is broken up into 3 sets of dates in August and September. The second hunt period, also known as the late season elk hunt, is in December.
I had the December hunt. It started December 14th and went to the 22nd. I got this bull on the 5th day, and it was a little different experience. A lot of the lucky people who draw the tag reach out to guides. It's a difficult hunt, and they kind of know the area. They have expertise in it. But as soon as I drew, I knew that I wanted to do it myself and make it more an adventure than a harvest. And if I was prepared to come home without one, if that was the case, but I wanted to try to do it myself. I was able to go down and scout for a day in September, and we got down a day early and just learn the road systems and learn their habits and try to figure them out, and try to do it my own way. And
Jake said he couldn't have done it without the help and support of his family and friends.
My stepdad was with me for the first couple of the days, and then I had 2 other buddies come down, one for a couple of days and then one for a day or 2, and it was just me and one buddy to try to get him into the truck and drag him and do all the fun stuff. But I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Jake shares the details of his hunt when we return.
This was the 5th day of the hunt. So we started out in the morning, me and a buddy, Josh Langcore. We started at about 5 in the morning. It's still dark. There was fresh snow, so you kind of drive roads and you're looking for tracks. We went to an area that didn't have a lot of elk in it, but we had known that this bull was seen in the fall and that he might still be around. So we just kind of went there. Started looking for tracks. We picked his track up at 7:30 in the morning, and from there we started tracking him in the snow. We tracked him for about a mile, and we found one of his sheds, or a shed. He was pawing, trying to eat grass in a kind of an open field, and that's where we found the shed. From there we tracked him another 3 or 4 miles, and he went on to some private property. So we thought the hunt was kind of over at that point, but we were able to walk the perimeter of the private property, and we cut his track heading from north to south. So he just passed through the private property, and the hunt was still back on again. So we hadn't jumped them yet. We hadn't caught up to him yet, and we tracked him for another couple of miles before we jumped him in a small jack pine stand, which you can't sneak through. It was brushy. And when we jumped him, we could, hear his antlers hitting the brush as we jumped him. So that was pretty neat. From there, we kind of knew it was a big bull, and we got some good-sized tracks. So it was the second to last day of my hunt. So I had told my buddy, I don't care how big it is at this point. We've had a good hunt and a good experience that this is going to be my bull if I could get a shot at it. We had tracked it for a couple more miles after that. In total, we tracked him for 13 miles before we could get a shot. So we kind of had to get a new game plan because he kept going through this very thick stuff that we would never sneak up on him. And he would double back and walk in our same boot tracks. And he did go into some open areas, so we knew that he wasn't afraid to get out in the open, but he was smart and kept throwing us for loops. So it got to be about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so we had tracked him for 6 or 7 hours by now, and we decided that my buddy would follow the tracks in, and I would go to a spot where we would hope that he would come out. And he was using his Onyx, which is a mapping, so he could track kind of which way he was headed, and it was about an 80-acre swamp or jack pine thicket. And so he sent me a picture of his track route, and I was completely in the wrong spot. There was no way he was going to come out. So I ran around and got to a new clearing, and as soon as I got there, I could see maybe 75 yards to my north and to my west. And I was there for about 5 minutes, and I could hear him just come crashing through, and you could hear his antlers raking on all the trees because it's thick and brushy. And he headed my way, and he stopped at about 75 yards and just was looking at me, and I had one shot, and I just had to take it. Otherwise, I figured the hunt was over, and he dropped right there, and I let out a big yoo-hoo, and my buddy was only 100 yards in the swamp, so he called back, did you get him? Did you get him? And I said, he's down, and so we were both able to, at this point, we hadn't seen how big he was, so we had no idea. And so we were able to run up on the bull together and have a very exciting moment there. Got emotional because it had been a long, hard week, a lot of walking, and 13 miles. So we took some pictures and got him tagged up, and then we had to hike out to the truck. When we got to the truck, I grabbed the big ice fishing sled, and we thought we'd give it a try to get him out whole. And live weight, the DNR figured he was about 700 pounds. So after he was field dressed, about 550 or 575. So we got him field dressed, and we flipped him into the toboggan, and my buddy pulled, and I pushed for about 400 yards, and finally we got him to the truck, and then we realized we had another little bit of a dilemma. But we used a winch and a ramp, and he pushed, and I ramped them into the back of the truck, and from there we went to the check station and got a lot of stairs coming across the bridge. So it was an epic hunt, and if I could have drawn it up, I wouldn't have drawn it up any different. It was just the exact hunt that I had hoped for, and got lucky to share it with some good friends and get a really nice bull on a once-in-a-lifetime hunt.
Thank you, Jake, for sharing your story, and a big thank you to Jake's friend, Steve Zimmerman, who contacted me about this story, and the Zimmerman family, who lent their barn for the interview and for processing the elk. The DNR Outdoor Skills Academy hosted an ice fishing clinic on Lake Gogebic. It was a multi-day event with virtual classes, indoor sessions, and a couple days on the ice. I caught up with the group for one of those days out on the lake.
My name is Katie Urban. I am the park interpreter at the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness State Park. And today I am also an Outdoor Skills Academy instructor. So this is the first Outdoor Skills Academy up here on Lake Gogebic. It's a great program that's been put together. It's been going on for a few years now, that just helps people get out and explore and do different opportunities and experience different outdoor skills and learn from instructors that have knowledge and passion and able to get out there and actually learn from these people in a hands-on situation. You know, it's not just a classroom, it's actually getting out and actually doing these things.
Have you ever fished Lake Gogebic before?
Nope, this is our first time.
What are you hoping to catch?
Legendary perch.
There you go.
Out here, we're of course looking for the giant yellow perch with the big fat bellies, those teeter pigs.
These fish are very special. They grow to a large size. They have a very abundant food source in these wigglers on the mud flats of Lake Gogebic. They are just very lethargic, lazy fish, essentially. They have a all-you-can-eat buffet, if you will. So they tend to be very light biting, and they don't bite often.
And yeah, an average bite's you'll see like that.
Okay, just a little.
Just a little bit of deflection in the rod tip's about all you're gonna get.
Okay.
And at that point, you got to be moving, or they're gonna rob your.
It'll be too late.
They're gonna steal your bait, and you can just feed them more wigglers.
There you go.
Very simple, basic way to fish these fish and gear, and it's what I started out with, is just get a nice ultralight, longer dead stick. You can buy spring bobbers at most bait shops in the area. You'll tie that on, get some light line, and put some usually glow-in-the-dark jigs on them. We tend to do 2 jigs, one on bottom, one on top, about 1.5 feet, 2 feet apart, and we'll put 1 to 2 wigglers on each hook. But yeah, it's just kind of walk out, or if you have the luxury of a snowmobile or four-wheeler, drive out, get to a mud flat, so you'll go out past the break, get into the flat, drill some holes, set up dead sticks, and give it a little time, because on a good day, you're going to average 1 to 2 fish an hour. So it's a pretty slow bite. And just keep moving if after a couple hours you got nothing.
Yay! One! Down on the bottom of this lake here, it's all just that muddy, mucky stuff. And they're just kind of burrowed down in there. And they're just hanging out. And then like Kyle was explaining, when the water kind of melts off in the springtime, that's why everyone likes teeter pig fishing in the spring. The rivers and streams are kind of pushing water in here. A little bit of warm water wakes them up, and then they come out of the burrows there. And those big fat perch are just swimming through real slow, just opening their mouth and just eating them all.
You want your wigglers working for you, so you want them moving. And then we're gonna drop this down until it sees right on bottom. So what you guys are seeing is, this is the bottom 6 feet over here. This is the entire water column right here. And I'll just drop that down. These are my lures going down. Right to bottom. And I want that to be just off the bottom. That way one of the jigs is about 1 foot off bottom. The other one's right on bottom. I got my rod holder right here. You just stick it on my rod holder. And we're gonna just let that sit just so it's right about right there. So we'll get this adjusted. That's why a fish finder of sorts, XLRs, are so great when you're doing this. You can drop it down real quick, and then you can sit here and watch your screen. So when you see a perch come in, they might come in and that's a bite, real light. You can set the hook, that way you can kind of prepare yourself as they come in. And you can see the wiggler moving. See that little blip there? That's your wiggler moving up and down.
Our students are from all over this time. So we have some from Wisconsin, we have some from Ohio, Michigan.
I'm Mark Haglin. This is my son Jason Haglin. We're from Madison Heights, Michigan. About 12.5-hour drive to come to hopefully catch some teeter perch or at least see one.
Have you ever fished Lake Gogebic before?
Never before, first time. So
only seen it on TV like a few times.
It's been on our bucket list, so we're looking forward to it, and we've learned a lot already last night and half a day on the ice. So
just learning different tricks and how to use stuff like the Vexlaw, or learning about spring bobbies. We've never used one of those before.
Now we just got to get the fish to cooperate.
Be nice, yeah.
We're not just focusing on those fish. That's what the students are here. That's what they're really liking to catch. But we teach all different styles of fishing here and give them different opportunities, from jaw jackers to tip ups, different jigging styles for different species of fish. Something that maybe they just don't use right here, but they could use sometime in the future. The tip ups, I like to figure out where the wind's going. So it's blowing this way. So you just want to make sure you're going to set it up so the wind's not going to set the tip off at any point. You can see this is nice and smooth when you pull it, and the line's pulling out, spinning the top part there, and that's what's going to set the flag off when a fish takes it. So the first thing we have to do is get our line down to the bottom. We need to know how far we want to fish off the bottom. Today we're setting for pike, so we're going to go about 5 feet off the bottom here. We're in about 20 feet of water right now. And we're just going to let it slide right down to the bottom. Oop. Perfect. And then once you hit the bottom, you feel it kind of drag and stop. You can feel where that weight's at. Coming down to the top of the water, pull it out, and this is where you kind of figure out your measurements here to where you'd like them at. So I got about 3 feet here. Go a little further. 4 or 5. Ooh. 4 or 5, and we'll go 6 feet. That looks pretty good today. So this, at this little marker here, this is an easy way to mark where your tip-up line is going to be at. It's just a rubber band piece that we've tied off onto the end here. The key with tip-ups, especially, is to make sure your line doesn't get all mixed up. So what I like to do is kind of lock it under my arm, and I kind of keep tension on this line here. And then when you're reeling up, you're making sure there's a nice tight tension, and you're not making your line go in all different directions. You're gonna reel it all the way back up here. Perfect. And then we're gonna hook our bait on, and we'll drop it down the hole. So we got our little minnow here. I hook mine up through the back here, right in front of the top fin. Gives them plenty of room to swim around freely. Make sure the hook comes all the way through the back. Drop them down the hole. Make sure it's nice and smooth heading down. And you're just gonna keep peeling line until you see your indicator there. I like to know exactly how much line I've got. So I'm gonna kind of put it right up to the bottom of our little loop here. Like I said, the wind's coming this way, so I wouldn't want to set this flag like this. So if the wind blows it, it's just gonna make it go off and then you run all the way over here for nothing. We're just gonna set it so it's pretty much straight on. Ooh. Very important part when you're tip-up fishing is you wanna make sure the reel's in the water. Because if the reel's not in the water, it's gonna freeze and then you're in trouble. That way when a flag comes up and over, we know we've got a fish. We come over and check it. That's basically all there is to it.
So one thing about setting tip-ups is you wanna make sure that you have your name and address or your driver's license number on the tip-up. So as you guys can see, I've got my name and address on these tip-ups. So that way if a conservation officer comes out to check you, then they can distinguish whose tip-ups are whose. So if you're fishing in a big group especially, make sure you guys individually name your tip-ups. It can't just be a last name. So that way they know who tip-ups belong to who if you're fishing in a group or with all your relatives.
All of these Outdoor Skills Academy classes can be found online on the DNR website. You just go to Outdoor Skills Academy. There's a whole list of them. They're going on all over the state. We have some fly fishing classes. We have some mushroom hunting, steelhead fishing clinics. We're happy to get you out here and really get you experiencing all the resources that we have.
That's all for tonight, and I hope to see you right back here next week for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.